looking at what I did for, the first 10 years, I was doing the sticking spaghetti on the wall. I was throwing it and hoping it fit. Okay.
Yeah.
Once I started working for the VA and I realized what the VA looks for, what the Raiders mindset is, then I started being more successful and I got my higher percentages that put me over the top.
You just hit a very valuable point, and that is understanding what the Raiders mindset is.
Open ranks, march!
When I'm looking at a claim and I have my personal statement format that I send of all the vets, the mindset the veteran uses, that the Raider uses, is there's 4 parts. First part is, how did the condition start? If you can't show a clear connection, like I have a guy, he filed for PTSD. He doesn't have one major event that happened, but for a year, every time he went outside the gate, he escorted the colonel. So his head was on a swivel and he spent a year being stressed, not knowing when somebody's going to take a shot at him. Okay, that's an accumulative. Or if somebody's in the infantry, if you parachuted, if you're in infantry, you're going to have foot, ankle, knee, hip, and back problems. Okay, but you got to spell that out too. So it's not because you fell off the loading dock and hurt your back. It's an accumulation of 10 years of road marching with a 150-pound pack. Okay. Or 48 jumps out of a perfectly good airplane. Okay. So it's, how did this start? Is it a reasonable assumption that because of your job skill, because of your duties, because of whatever else, that you developed this condition? Now, I myself, being in an admin field, would that qualify me for the same as somebody who jumps out of an airplane? Maybe, maybe not. But I have to explain how I acquired that condition. Gotcha. And I remember pushing a safe on a dolly 4 blocks from the hospital to the headquarters building.
Got you.
Okay. Do you think that put a strain on my back? Yeah, you darn sure it did. So it's just, where did it start? The next one is, how have you been treated? What kind of treatment have you had? This includes medications and the dosage. For example, if you're taking 25 milligrams of Zoloft, you probably don't have a severe problem. If you're taking 650 milligrams, you're probably a zombie. Same thing with migraines. If you're not taking any medication whatsoever, then how severe is your problem? But if you're actually having to take medication to combat the migraines, that points out that you have migraines. Okay, and it also points out the severity. I've talked to people that have PTSD and they're on 4 different medications. The third part of the statement is symptoms. What are your symptoms? You don't get paid or compensated because you have PTSD. You get compensated because the symptoms and residuals of PTSD cause an impact on your lifestyle.
Okay.
So if we look at the symptoms and it correlates to the same symptoms, like if you look at the chart for PTSD, it's going to list symptoms. You may have some of them, you may have all of them, and it just depends. Okay. Some of the symptoms are minor. If you have sleep impairment, the most you're going to get is 30%. If you add in that you also have problems with hygiene, impaired impulse control, cognitive issues, suicidal ideation, those are higher level symptoms that are going to bring you a higher level percentage. Okay. Now, I'm not advocating somebody going out and saying, oh, yeah, I have this. These are legitimate symptoms that you can document. Okay. I don't advocate anybody committing fraud or lying. In fact, I tell you, sometimes the truth and the honesty may highlight your symptoms a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I had my wife, look at my, provide me with a statement for my PTSD, I was like, whoa, she noticed that, so, and then the fourth part, which is not covered under, which I'll explain what a DBQ is the fourth part that's not covered under the DBQ is how does this affect your lifestyle? So what is it about PTSD that has an impact on your life? So before you go to bed at night, you do a perimeter search on your ATV complete with loaded weapon. Yeah, that's a severe impact. If you can't drive because you used to drive transportation and you see a box on the side of the road, it gives you a panic attack. Yeah, that's an impact on your lifestyle. And you need to explain that because, again, they're not going to call you. They're not going to meet you at Starbucks. You have to get across your point of how this impacts your lifestyle to give them a better idea and have them on the same sheet of music when they're doing the evaluation.
So this mindset is good for me. Sorry to interrupt again, but
no, go ahead.
Hitting on
like
so
I said,
many
if you
points.
don't, I'll run on.
Hitting on so many points. So this mindset is actually good for me when I am not only putting together my personal statement, but addressing and reviewing my medical records to make sure the story is clear.
Right. And it also helps, your mindset helps if you get denied. Okay. Gotcha. Now, keep in mind, you have somebody has PTSD. What's the biggest thing what some of the biggest symptoms is anxiety.
Anxiety and memory issues.
Okay.
And stuff.
So now you're going to, I'm not going to get this. Well, not if you don't provide the right information.
Right.
And you take a denial as, well, I tried, but now they denied me. And how can they deny it? It's in my records. Well, we kind of covered that.
Right.
It might be in your records, but you need more information to flesh out. And think of this as when you go to the VA and file a claim, it's equivalent to filing a class action suit. Now, if you're going to go sit in front of a judge, are you going to take a little bit of evidence or are you going to take a lot?
Right.
And I've seen cases where the evidence is not particularly stellar. They're missing records, but because of the requirement for the rater to review all evidence and weigh it to make the decision, they sometimes win because they have a preponderance, or he who has the most evidence wins. When they list, they said, okay, and I got 0% for hearing. Well, you weren't denied. You have service connection. That's 80% of the battle. Okay. But you weren't high enough, or because there's a threshold of hearing that you have to reach. If you haven't reached that threshold, you're going to get 0%. But that's still a victory, because when you get to the point where you can't hear, you're deaf in one ear and can't hear out of the other, Uncle Sam's going to pay for your hearing aids.
Right. See?
Okay. But the other thing they do is they look at that. I got denied. Oh God. I got denied. They don't like me. Well, it's not that they don't like you. They hate you. Go eat worms. It's that, gee, guy, I would really like to grant you, but I have a requirement by regulation that I have to have a certain amount of evidence to qualify for you for that condition and that percentage. So if you get a letter, and this is the biggest mistake that a lot of vets make, they look at it and they go, okay, I got 50%. Oh, they denied this. And that's it. But they don't look further. If you look through those award letters, what you will find is we're required to explain both why you were granted and why you were denied. So you'll see a write-up that says, okay, you were granted 20% for your back because you showed that you had blah, 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 the following symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you were denied, it's because you didn't have this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's because they don't have a diagnosis. They filed for knee. What about your knee? Is it there? Is it gone? Does it tickle? Does it hurt? Whereas if they file for patellofemoral pain syndrome, now we're cooking with Holly Farms. I mean, now I understand where you're coming from. Okay. Or if you say I have arthritis on my knee. Okay, how did you get the arthritis? It didn't just pop up one day.
Right.
Now you go back and you say, well, I've dislocated my knee 12 times. Yeah, you're going to have arthritis. Okay.
Right.
So you have to show that connection to that first injury.
Close ranks. March.